Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe with Joe and Joe podcast. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Joe.
Man, oh man, we got number 4 of the Rapid-Fire Megasode. Lot of comics.
We hit
a lot of comics.
We hit number 4. We're coming at you in pairs because that's just how these things work. And we got a lot of stuff. We got to
move. We got to move. Joe, get moving. Get moving. Yeah. They don't need to understand. Just get into it. Joe, I swear, if you talk about Wonder Woman in this megasode, I am taking money away from feminism. I'm done.
So starting off this week's Rapid Fire Megasode, we have Wonder Woman number 778.
Son of a bitch!
And I am not shitting you. And so, Joe, if you remember in last week's Megasode where I said I was pretty much off because this thing was pretty shit.
Oh, don't tell me you're back on. Don't even do it to me.
Just when I'm out. Reach out and pull me back in,
what
Joe.
What the fuck did they do? Did they show like Wonder Woman nudes or some shit?
No, Joe, even better. They showed her in a jungle outfit.
Say what? Say what?
I'll send you pics later, baby. Anyway, Travis Moore is back on the art. This is the guy who was doing the art in the original 4 issues that I really fucking loved back in the Norse saga, and he's back on. And Joe, I don't know what the fuck they were doing for the last 3 or 4 issues, but they were like, all right, we're back on our A game. This issue starts off with Diana and Siggy in the Phantom Zone, which is where they portal to from the last from the last issue, and in it, they end up trying to fight some guy named Zadu, who's like the quote-unquote king of the Phantom Zone, and then out of nowhere, this massive, like, ethereal dragon named Aether, aka the Overseer, I don't know what any of this fucking means, just go along with it, appears, saves Diana and Siggy, and is like, go find Giannis, I will take care of Zadu. That's just the first 4 fucking pages of this book. Throws them through a portal. They end up in the 5th dimension where you have Batmite and whatchamacallit, Mr. Mix-a-Spitlick, like those little like Mike characters. Do you know them at all, Joe?
Got no clue.
Okay, doesn't fucking matter. They're just like a callback from a couple other comics. Whatever. They end up in the 5th dimension, which is like a weird Looney Tunes-esque weird shit thing. And they find Giannis there. They get the fuck out of there after a couple of pages, and then they wind up in Gem World where they're fighting Giannis, and then they're having a couple like talks back and forth, and Giannis is just like kind of like saying like, this is my plan, this is kind of what I want. Like, I need to, you guys gotta stop fucking attacking me because I'm going to wreck the gods. This is my plan. And they're like, no, stop it. And she's like, fuck you. And she goes off to this prehistoric jungle. That's right. They then jump to another fucking world. And this is the best world because you have Siggy, who's just in a loincloth looking like motherfucking Tarzan. And then you've got Diana, who's also just in like a fucking bikini cloth thing. And it's just, the art is so fucking good, Joe. I can't express to you how fucking incredible this shit looks. It looks incredible. Anyway, they find Giannis again, and she portals away again. Diana jumps through, leaving Siggy and Ratatosk behind, though. At least presumably. We don't see him actually jump through the portal because it's closing and he's trying to get there, but it's not working. And Diana's back in this big white space where she was in the beginning of the Norse saga, whenever she would die and she would be like, where am I? And who we found it to be Dead Man was telling her, you need to go back, you're in the wrong place. She's there again, and she finds Dead Man on the ground, and he's dead. Man. But like legitimately dead. And that's like the end of the issue. And so I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck happened between the last issue and this issue, but the team was just like, all right, we gotta fucking crank shit up to 11. And they did, and I'm like, God fucking damn it, I guess I'm buying 779.
Moore definitely came back and was like, look what these fools have done to my beautiful comic. Let me give you a taste of what you've been missing out.
And then he gave us Tarzan versions of both Siggy and Diana, and I could not be more fucking happy. So, I'm back in, Joe. Sorry to say it, but we're getting more Wonder Woman throughout the coming weeks.
God, this is like a toxic relationship where you're like, oh my God, I gotta break up with her. I gotta break up with her, and the next day you're like, I'm in love.
Honestly, you're not wrong. But yeah, we'll just see how that goes. So then, real quick into the next one. This one's just love all the way through, baby, because we're talking about Nightwing again. It's Nightwing number 83. Art, it's fucking incredible. Always. This art is just so fucking good. I love it. That's all I can say about it. It's very good. So this basically is just Dick. He escapes from whatchamacallit, Melinda. What the fuck is the apartment? He escapes from the apartment that he was in previously after we found out about the step sibling and like the backstory of the mother and all that sort of crap. He leaves. He goes back home to his apartment where Barbara is waiting for him. He sleeps for 3 days, and then he goes off and talks to Superman and Batman and the Teen Titans and a couple other characters, trying to like expressing what his plan is. Because if you remember, he's a billionaire now because when Alfred died, he left him all of his money. So Dick Grayson is like one of the richest people in the DC universe at this present moment. And he's been struggling with trying to figure out what the fuck to do with all this money. And he's had this idea, and he's mentioned it in the past couple of issues. And so he goes to all these different characters, and he's like, this is what I'm planning, what do you think? And even Superman is just like, Dick, you're one of the best men that I know. This is a good plan. Follow it through. And if you need any help, I'll be there for you, okay? And he's just like, okay, thank you, Superman. And it's just a really wonderfully touching scene because, again, Tom Taylor just fucking gets character, man. He gets it so good. It's incredible. And so he ends up showing up as just Dick Grayson to a whole press of people. And he's like, hello, my name is Dick Grayson, and I'm creating the Alfred Pennyworth Foundation, or whatever the hell it's called, naming it in Alfred's namesake, and it's basically just a plan starting in Bloodhaven, his city, to help all the impoverished people by building shelters and giving them like aid and all this other stuff, and it's just a help program essentially. But everyone, after he does his little like press junket thing, he comes back inside, he pulls out his phone, and it's a little group chat with all the other Bat family members, and all of them are just being like, congrats bro, and it's all in their different character voices, and it's very good. Red Hood sends him a thing that's like, don't think this gets you out of owing me that $20 from last week. And I'm just like, yeah, that's what fucking Red Hood would say. And Damien said something along the lines of like, this isn't a competition, but if it was, you win. And I'm just like, man, this is great. And Barbara also gives him a little smooch before he does the press junket thing. But it's just great shit. That's all I gotta say about it. Nightwing 83, it's great. All of this entire Tom Taylor run is so fucking good. You should be reading it. That's all I gotta say. You should be reading it.
I really thought you were going to say that he was going to announce the Teen Titans Academy, and I was like, whoa, what a connection.
Oh, yeah. I think it's best if you don't connect the two, because if you remember in Teen Titans Academy, he's like dating Starfire, isn't he?
Yeah, but
like there was explicitly a scene in there where one of the kids was like, oh, I just saw like Mr. Grayson and Miss Starfire coming out of like one of the training rooms, but they weren't training, Joe. At least not in the way you think they were.
Well,
and then
I also remember
Barbara just kisses him.
I also remember in one of the issues that Starfire, that he was like, oh, I need to go home, or no, Nightwing was like, oh, I need to go home or whatever, and Starfire needs me, or not Starfire, Barbara needs me, and Starfire was like, oh, Barbara, and he's like, look, I gotta get back and help, it's not like that, and it's like, oh, is he like a, they kind of like portrayed him, I remember in that scene, almost like he was a playboy, but that really isn't what his character is.
No, I refuse to think of Dick as a playboy. I think of him more like in Spider-Man, where he'd be like he'd just be like a bit clumsy about it, but he's not actively being like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck two hot redheads at once. Like that's not Dick Grayson.
Being more like Spider-Man, the way they handle it makes sense. But cool. No, Nightwing. It sounds good. It sounds like they almost took like a little backseat to the whole Zuko story and was like, okay, let's do a little bit more down to earth stuff.
Yes, because like the end of this, Heartless comes back and it's just like, so Dick Grayson has a plan. I shout, let's see how this goes, and like he's like being still built up as like this big villain that's gonna be coming on. But it's like I'm kind of excited for that. But again, this series is just great. I'm taking too long on these, Joe. I can't stop fucking gushing about Nightwing. But then real quick, Miles Morales Spider-Man Annual #1. It's meh. It follows Miles and another character named Amulet. They fight a Cyclops and a big bird, and pretty much nothing else happens, and that's it. So, there's my 3. So, we can move on now.
Blade Runner Origins, baby. All right, we got Cal and we got Asa. They get a tip of, so they're looking still for the Rogue Nexus 5 prototype. And they, on a security cam, they saw that the prototype, like, made contact with this other replicant or whatever. So they end up going to the house of where that replicant was. And the replicant, they, like, break into the house and, like, stop the replicant because he was, like, grabbing a knife or something crazy. But then replicant ends up having, like, a breakdown. And all he can say is, why? 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 And so they bring them back to, like, Cal and Asa's little hideout, the underground bar type of place. And the bartender's like, what if he's having an existential thought? And Cal kind of freaks out. He's like, that's not possible. And Asa, who is really the doctor, if you remember that Asa is the doctor's consciousness in a replicant body, is like, oh, well, there's a chance. And Cal's like, oh my god, I need to get the fuck out of here. I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to go look for the replicant. And so Asa just handles the replicants that's there. And what ends up happening is that the replicant just ends up dying and breaking down, which is really fucking weird. But there is this nice moment between Asa and, I'm going to remember his name, Marcus, which is her brother, and just talking about, like, Marcus is still mad at her for, like, pretending that she died and hiding all this stuff. And basically Asa is just telling her, like, you need to forgive me or we're not going to be able to go through this. She's like, you can fucking hit me, I don't care. Oh, Lydia was the name of the doctor. So there's a nice little emotional scene with that. But it's a cooler scene where Asa actually talks to the bartender, who is like this like drag queen, because they hold like a drag show there. And they're talking, and you're getting a little bit to know about Cal's background, and how Cal fought in this war, and that her partner died in the fight against replicants, and how she has this kind of thing against them. And it's again a kind of emotional moment, but the coolest fucking scene is when Cal goes to visit his sister that's in the hospital, and Laura Stahl is there, the Tyrell woman, and and she's basically like telling Cal, like, hey, you still haven't fulfilled my request of catching the replicant. Like, I told you, if you don't do that, something bad's gonna happen. And Cal just snaps, and he pulls the tough guy sit, and he's like, look, he goes, I don't think you understand. I have 5 hours left to get your fucking replicant. If you touch even a hair on my sister's head, this city will burn. And I'm just like, oh my god. And they had this really cool full page spread, or just full page of half and half of each of their faces next to each other, and it looks badass. And basically Cal tells her that, like, if you died, nobody would care. And we get this cool scene of her walking into the elevator to leave, and as she turns, she's actually crying. And I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck? But the story ends with a tip that Cal got. I think it was from Stahl, that they saw the replicant in the slums where Cal is from. So Cal goes back there, and he goes to like this fancy underground bar where replicants. I think it's some replicants hang out, but it's like his old place. And basically, what happens is somebody like rats him out, and they put him in a headlock, and the chick pulls a knife. And basically they have him hostage, so I don't know what they're going to do with that. But Blade Runner Origins continues to be interesting. I love these Blade Runner comics.
Wonderful.
And then that allows me to move into 2029, which, Joe, I'm so happy, because originally I wanted to get the original cover of this, the standard cover, but I found an even fucking better one of Ash and her girlfriend making out on like a side street in like LA, and it looks badass. I absolutely love it. So something
I love
really
when making out looks badass.
Yes. In this, Joe, I'm not sure if they did this in 2019. Did they give Ash like a backstory, like how she joined the police force or anything like that?
I don't fucking remember. I only read the first, like, what, 4 or 5 issues of that series. And I
Yeah, well,
don't really remember one, but,
okay.
nah.
So they actually get. It surprised me. They give her like a backstory in this where she's narrating it, and basically she's sitting at the precinct because she committed a crime that she's a robber, and the one woman's like, oh, look at all this stuff. You've got a lot of promise, and oh, look at she goes, oh, I know why the metal detector went off because you have the spinal injury and you have the electric spinal column on you, and like basically it's just this older woman saying, if you get your life together, come work for me. She's like, but it's gonna be after your jail time, and then she turns around and Ash is gone. And this is her like when she's like 16. So it's really fucking cool to get that backstory, and it's just a little bit. I love it. I find Ash to be a really cool character. But now, if you remember, Ash was saved by from the whole test tube thing, and now she's in this like replicant underground, just kind of survive while Yutun is like getting into his final plan of like, you know, causing anarchy in LA and having this replicant takeover. And basically Ash tells all the replicants like, look, I need to save Frasier. She means the world to me and I need to go. So she runs off by herself, and now we get actually a backstory of Frasier, which is fucking badass. And if you don't remember, Frasier is Ash's significant other, and she's a replicant, and she was actually working. So we get a backstory that Frasier was a medic during these wars that happened. Again, I don't know who they're fighting. If it's against other replicants, if it's like against other countries that just use replicants. But anyway, she has to try and save. We have this beautiful scene of her trying to save someone, or at least you think that at first. But she makes a comment of like that I had to like basically she had to kill him off in order to stop his suffering, and you see a lot of emotion in her face, and you get this beautiful, beautiful full page spread of this battle going on off world called the Battle of Mesa Echo Erebus in 2021, which I thought was a nice little detail. And while she's trying to save this person, she actually gets a bomb goes off, and then she sees these paramedics coming down from the sky, or at least these other soldiers coming down from the sky from these aircrafts, and she said they were like angels that saved my life, but I never got to thank them. And then boom, it jumps to 2029. She's on the roof with Yotun, and we get a parallel scene of angels coming down, but they're Yotun's soldiers. And Yotun's basically they're attacking the police, the head police building, which I know at first, last time I talked about this, I wasn't sure if it was the police building or something else, but it's the police building, and all the police are gone because of the power outage and all this other shit that Yotun caused. So he's basically going to take over the whole police station, and basically they go and they actually take over it, and they get inside, and it is gruesome what they do to the police that are still in there. Like, you literally see their heads ripped off. It's fucking crazy. But something pretty cool is that once they get inside, Yotun gets rid of Frasia's cuffs, and he's like, look, he goes, I know you're not going to go against me, and even if you did, I'll basically kill you and ruin everything in your life. He's like, but before we move on with the plan, there's something I need to tell you. And he says Mesa Echo Erebus, which is which, if you remember, was the battle that she just talked about. And he tells her that, like, I was one of the medics that came down and saved you. I saved you that night, and I saw you safely on the path of recovery and continued on my way. And basically, Frasier's just shocked, and she's like, why did you bring me with you and all this stuff? And he's like, because this is where you belong. And we have this great look on Frasier's face where it kind of looks like she's going to become a supporter of Yotun. And the last page finishes with Ash taking a motorcycle and riding off with her. Oh, this is the other thing I'll say at the end, but riding into the police building, getting to the end of it, looking up, and as we get this cool full page scene of like the police building on fire, her at the bottom next to the motorcycle. But one thing that she did say is that not only was her spine healed in that test tube, she has no pain whatsoever. Her eyesight is fixed completely too, so her glasses are gone, which I think she looks cute in the glasses, so kind of down point. But she makes this last comment. She's like, I need to go see Yotun so I can thank him for letting me recover and then kill him. and it's just all badass and really intense. And for some reason, I feel like they're gonna make Ash fight Frasier, and I just don't want to see that at all because they're so cute. Blade Runner.
God damn, there's so much happening in that book, but it sounds like it's starting to actually finally come to a head almost. You feel that way?
Yeah, no, it's definitely like I'm like, oh my god, I can see the end.
The end is nigh. It is coming. Yeah, I wonder if they'll do the thing where it's like they fight for a bit and then they're friends again and they just like fuck up Rotana.
They pull a kill.
Big or bad. Yeah, something like that. So interesting, very interesting. I'm so excited to when I actually finally fully collect all of the trades for this stuff because it sounds muy good. So yeah. All right, you want to get into some of these books that we both read?
Yeah, you tell me a little bit about Moon Knight. My mouth is dry.
Okay. There we go. I had to clear my throat there. So, Moon Knight #2 came out. Art in this book, still fucking sick. Sick as hell.
Awesome cover.
Cappuccio, that's his name, right? It's like one letter off of cappuccino. Cappuccio, yes. Okay. Cappuccio, still fucking incredible. There are a couple of there's one explicit double page spread in this book that is just so fucking awesome. I'm a Moon Knight fan now, baby.
Oh yeah.
But the story is basically just following up the with his like missionary thing that he's got going on, and the a man comes in and he's just like, hey, so a bunch of elderly started fucking me up and I need some help with this. And Moon Knight's just like, okay, let's go take a look. And they go and they find it. Turns out it's a janitor who can like mind control people with his sweat. Comics, that's why. And Moon Knight's just like, so if they ingest your sweat, you can take over their brain. And he's like, yes. And Moon Knight's like, I'll ingest your sweat and you try and take over my brain. And the janitor's just like, okay, I guess. So Moon Knight does. He ingests some of the sweat. We get the awesome double page spread of Moon Knight clasping this janitor in the metaphysical plane of his brain in his massive Moon Knight fist. And the janitor just fucking loses his mind because it's like now trapped inside of the mind, of Moon Knight. What the fuck?
I love the wording on the double page spread. All it says is, come and worship. And I'm like, oh my god, this story is kind of scary. Like this, the full page spread with the whites and the blacks and the neon minty greens reminds me of Ukiyo-e from Bleach a little bit, like that color vibe.
It does. It so does.
Wow, it is. I like also how he wraps him up in a sarcophagus and he puts him in like his little like holder, and you can see that it says Lockley, Grant, and Spectre next to those, which I think is really fucking cool.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, there's like not a lot of action, but a lot of fucking intensity in this issue.
Yes, definitely. Like there's not a whole lot of actual fisticuff fighting because again, the primary antagonists are just a bunch of innocent elderly people that are being controlled by this guy. But the art and like the way everything is depicted and the scene setting, it's just so dynamic and cool looking. They're doing a very good job of presenting this book and making me actually care about this Moon Knight story. And we even get, at the very end, I don't know if this sweat mind control guy was put onto Moon Knight by Hunter Moon, or if Hunter Moon is just kind of there witnessing this stuff happen, but Hunter Moon is only at the very final page, and I'm real interested to see what the fuck he's got going on with the rest of this stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I'm getting by. I think they're insinuating that it was his plan to kind of like test Moon Knight, but I will say another little thing that I liked is Reese, the black woman that's like Moon Knight's front desk. I love how she was freaking out about the blood, where she was like, oh my god, this is causing an innate reaction and I do not want to suck somebody's blood, and she had to walk out. I like that little detail. I think that was pretty cool, and I like how now they got Terry, this redhead dude, to join the group. And I will say, seeing what the cover for #3 looks like when you turn the page, oh boy, that thing looks crazy as fuck. And I think that's that Black Moon dude, or whatever the fuck his name is, or Hunter's Moon. I don't know. Moon Knight continues to look sick, and the story is cool. The character is cool. It's unique. And I will also say that I picked up the Peach Momoko cover as well as the normal cover because I love my girl Peach, and I also have gotten to the point where like I don't even have to look for her signature anymore. I can see her art style and know it was hers. Like when I picked up my comics this past week, I like walked by oh my god, a Black Widow type of comic, and I had to do a double take. I'm like, that's a Peach cover, and I looked closer and I saw her little I believe it's a Japanese signature, and I was like, haha, I know my shit.
You're evolving. Yes! That's awesome. All right. Ready to move on to the next one?
Oh, I'm ready, man. Whew.
All right, man. Radiant Black. We're back into the main story here. Radiant Black number 7. We had a little departure last month where we talked about number 6, which was the Radiant Red's little backstory. What was Radiant Red's actual name? Do you remember?
Not a Sheena. Oh my god, this is gonna bother me. I forget.
I don't know. It's not important.
Man.
Whatever.
It's weeks
moving
ago.
On. Yeah, exactly. So moving on from that, it's we're following now the Techno Silent Ninja Man. I'm pretty sure I had a different name for him before, but whatever. I'm sticking with that from now on. Fucking up the Radiance. He's just there, and he's just like, die. And everyone's like, oh my fucking god, I gotta run away. We learned that the Pink Radiant has the ability to teleport and ends up teleporting all of them to Tokyo. So cool. It's really fucking cool. But the Radiant, the Techno Silent Ninja Man, ends up finding them anyway. Then she and Marshall, meaning Pink, Radiant Girl, and Marshall, end up getting teleported to a space battle. What the fuck? And Red and Yellow get up, they end up finding, because they get teleported away as well, they end up finding the Techno Silent Ninja Man, who ended up getting knocked out through one of the teleporty things, because then Marshall also ended up like boosting the teleport with his energy and like explosion or whatever. I don't know. It's just the interactions between all these Radiant characters, like the angry bickering between Red Radiant and Marshall, because obviously they're still fighting because Red Radiant put Nathan in a fucking coma and nearly killed him, and then Yellow and Pink and trying to like calm them down and be like, yo, shut the fuck up, we gotta figure this stuff out. It's very good, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, couple things I want to say. Marshall and Red Radiant, definitely see them hooking up in the future, and then Nathan getting out of like his semi-coma, wanting to kill her, and then Marshall being like, ooh, actually that's my girlfriend, and it just being really awkward. I'm putting like $20 on that. I want to know more about Blue. I want to know more about Yellow and Pink. I think Pink's teleporting powers are really fucking cool. I like how Marshall's like, oh, I can like amplify stuff. I think that was a cool little detail. Techno Silent Dude is badass. I want to learn more about him, and I like how they're setting up this next issue to basically be a world building issue where literally the last thing they have is Red and Yellow being like, let's get some goddamn answers. So I'm excited to find out more. I'm really confused why the Gurren Lagann final battle scene was in the middle of this issue. Very strange thing to put in there. But look, man, Radiant Black, and I gotta say, I got the standard cover of them. It's yellow, black, and red, and they have like this like, it's like a shining background, and they look so fucking tough. I got that cover and also the one of Radiant Black. Excuse me. Oh, it was the steak. Like kind of doing like, it's like him doing like he's on his back flying. I believe that's the one you got. And also, Radiant Black just released their first ever trade paperback, which is like wild to think about.
Yeah, we've been following. Remember when we first started following the series? I remember we were going through the recommendations, and it was just like, and I think I'm gonna pick up this thing. I just looked at it; it just looks cool, Radiant Black. And then you were like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yeah," and now here we are, 7 issues later.
Damn!
Oh my god!
It's so fucking cool. And now we got to talk about something else, which, Joe, I'm really interested to know your opinions on this thing, because this is, I think, the weirdest thing and something I was not expecting. So we're talking about the Spider-Man Life Story Annual #1.
Yeah.
Joe, tell me about this.
All right. I'm just going to say one thing, and I want to know your reaction to this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think this entire thing was completely unnecessary.
I completely agree. I think it was a bit of a money grab. I will say there is one little thing at the end that kind of got me emotionally, where I was like, oh, that was kind of like cute. But yeah, it's just out of nowhere, and I feel like they're kind of just like maybe maybe the sales for the Spider Shadow was really low, so they're like, oh, we gotta fucking put a life story annual out, because like I said to Joe before the podcast, I'm like, this comes out like, what is it, 2 years after Life Story finished, maybe 3.
No, it's not 3. It's at
It's
max
2.
2.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite been, at least since the last issue of Life Story. It's less than 2 years since then, but yeah, around that amount of time.
Yeah, it's just very strange. And so this story, it follows J. Jonah Jameson, and at first I thought, like, wow, this could be really interesting. And so, like, yeah, I thought it'd be really interesting, and I was very open-minded into this. And it's not, I don't think this is bad. Like, I really don't think it is
No.
at all. It's pretty
No.
cool, some of the stuff. I like seeing Jonah's point of view, and basically, he's not a crazed artist, but he's just obsessed with Spider-Man, where there's nothing else in his life. And also seeing some of the life story events come over in here, like obviously mentioning the clones, the death of Gwen Stacy, and I believe there's a couple other stuff where it was like, wow, like I just like little hints where I was like, okay, I like how they actually made the connection to the main life story canon, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not bad, like you said, by any means. Like, it's still, you have Chip Zdarsky as the writer back again. You have Mark Bagley on art again. So the book looks great, with the one caveat that all middle-aged to old man faces that Mark Bagley draws look fucking identical, to the point where, like, old man Jonah looks exactly like old man Peter in issue 5. Yeah, and, like, all the other old men with beards in these books.
If it weren't
so, like,
for...
that's just one knock.
If it weren't for Osborn having his fucking, like, weird-ass hair, he'd probably look the same, too.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, Bagley draws old character faces very similarly, and it's a little hard to tell them apart sometimes. Granted, this is helped by the fact that you don't see them together, but, like, if you put a panel of Old Man Jameson next to Old Man Peter, next to Old Man Reed, like, I wouldn't be able to tell you who the fuck was who just based on that stuff, because they all have beards, they all have the same square head and the same, like, shorter haired cut sort of thing. I'm just like, I don't know if it's lazy or if it's just your style, man, but you gotta differentiate these guys a little bit more. But other than that, everything looks fucking great. What you think of after, because, like, again, it follows Jameson throughout his kind of life after Spider-Man appeared. So him being obsessed from the beginning, then him going to jail because, he ended up causing a pretty bad thing to happen, and then his life throughout jail, and then getting out of jail, and then he ends up getting a mech, and he's trying to kill Scorpion to set right the thing that kicked off all this crap in the beginning. What'd you think of Jameson the Spider Mech?
I was a little like, what is happening? I thought it was gonna be like he like gets in the mech and it's like, I gotta kill Spider-Man now. I kind of like that they did a little different. Where it was like, no, I'm trying to right my wrongs again. I don't know. I feel like this was trying to shove a rectangle into a circle. Like it kind of works, but then you're like, it's a bit rough getting it in there. Like it's yeah. There's some stuff that worked, some stuff that didn't, and I liked the Jonah in jail though. I kind of like that part in him getting to know Osborn. Oh, that was the other thing. When Osborn actually dies of a heart attack, I like how that connected into this. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, there's some stuff where it's like him getting in the mech. I'm like, this is kind of stupid. But I will say I love the last page, and I love that the book was actually pressed and that she was able to give a copy to Peter and that they embraced. For some reason, that actually made me tear up a little. Not tear me up, but made me be like, aw. Like when she said, he wanted you to have it. He wanted Spider-Man to have it. I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Again, I thought that was cool, and I like Peter pulling out the mask at the very end. I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. We're getting an annual #2 or some shit. I don't know, but
No. I know exactly what that is in reference to, because if you remember, in one of the, I believe it was issue 5 in the 2000s, when his daughter, Peter's daughter, is talking about, because at this point, Ben Reilly has taken over as Spider-Man, and Peter Parker left, and he met back up with Mary Jane and the kids out in the country, and so that's where he's been all this time. He's back in New York now for Jonah. I'm pretty sure the year that Jonah dies, or at least the year that Peter's visiting, it's 2001. So, if you remember, his daughter saw him on the TV during 9/11 with the mask on, rescuing people from the collapsing buildings. So I think what that insinuates is that, yes, he has the mask. Yes, it's 2001. 9/11 has either just happened or it is about to happen. I think it's about to happen because Gwen, or whatever she's going by at this point in the annual, leaves him. She's like, oh, come on, Peter. Like, you can't ever leave that behind. And then he pulls out the mask showing, yes, he still has the mask with him because at any point he could need to be Spider-Man. And I think that conversation gives him the drive then when 9/11 actually happens to go out and help wearing that mask.
Yeah, I missed that part because for some reason, does he have a different name when he wears that mask? Because that mask is a little different. I'm trying to remember if there was like a...
Scarlet Spider is what that costume is originally from. So yeah, he would be the Scarlet Spider if he wore that full costume, but it's just the mask that he has with him.
Yeah, so I like that connection. I had a feeling it was there, but for some reason I couldn't bring it in my memory. I'm like, how does this connect? So, yeah, pretty cool how it kind of fits in. But I just want to give overall thoughts here. It's unnecessary. I feel like it was kind of a money grab to just be like, oh, slap Life Story on here and get people to buy it. It's a cool story. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. I like Jonah in jail, and I like the connections to the actual full Life Story canon. Mm-hmm. But in reality, I think my life would be perfectly fine if this never existed.
Yeah, same. I like all the parts that connect as well, because I think that just reminds us that this is connected to a book that's just so much more interesting and cooler. But the actual stuff with Jonah, I could really take or leave, which is a shame because, I don't know, I felt like this annual could have really explored some other unique stuff as well, but it's just kind of, whatever. But yeah, so it's not terrible, but also you don't really need this.
Do you think we're going to get more of these?
For Life Story, no. Okay. I think this will be the only one.
Okay.
That'll be it for that.
Okay, cool. So moving on to what we're picking up this week, Joseph.
Yes. Hang on, let me pull it up real quick, because I think most of these are going to be stuff that we're picking up together.
Yeah, so I am picking up Wonder Girl #3. Yes, that's right. We forgot about Yara Flor. She's back. Then we have Teen Titans Academy #6, which, if you've been with us from the start, was one of the comics I was so excited for, and now I am so nervous to buy this thing. I am actually nervous because I really want it to be good, and I see Chupacabra on the cover, and that's a no. And then we have Static.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, what
Joe,
is it?
Sandoval is back on the art.
Oh, maybe that means the story will be better. Okay.
So at least it'll look cool.
Oh God. Okay, we have Static Season 1, #3. Again, cover teasing Static in his costume, but if they don't give me the fucking costume, which I think they will in this issue, I actually might cry. And then, what I am most excited for, because we have to wait for fucking months for this, is Demon Days Cursed Web. Oh, man. A lot of stuff.
Yep. So I'm picking up Demon Days, Wonder Girl, and Teen Titans Academy as well. And then the only other thing that I'm picking up is going to be Geiger #6, which I believe is the conclusion of the first arc. So here's hoping that will be a good thing. Wow. But that'll be it for me from recommendations. So you have anything else to add there, Joe?
No, man. I just got to say, there's times where I'm like, man, I spent a good amount of money on comics. But I got to say, I think it's worth every penny. It really is. It's such an enjoyable hobby.
Fuck yeah. Good hobby to have. All right. So, with all that being said, everyone, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, all that usual YouTube bullshittery. Let us know what comics any of you guys are reading. Let us know what comics we should be checking out if you have any recommendations. They could be current ongoing titles. They could be titles decades old. Could be anything. Just let us know what you really enjoy and what you really like. Yeah. And so with all that being said, everyone, read some G-dang comics. And we'll leave you, and goodbye.